So if you're interested in the experience here in Rochester. But I didn't want to miss the opportunity to also talk to you about the importance of the movement and the lessons that we have learned. So what I'm going to do is give you sort of a brief history of my involvement in the movement, and then we're going to pull out a few lessons that we've learned, and then we're going to talk about Rochester today, and we're going to talk about the USA today, and we're going to talk about our global community today. And the reason we're going to talk about it today is because this is going to be our chance to do something about the future. The only way you can do anything about the future is today, because the future is not promised. So, with that, we're going to share with you, okay? The first thing is that we must understand where we're coming from in order to appreciate where we're going. So when we talk about where we're coming from, I have to talk about my own experiences. Growing up in Tampa, Florida, back in the 40s and 50s, in Ybor City, segregated community, but nevertheless, it was multicultural. We had Italians, we had Cubans, we had Jewish community, we had West Indians, Native Americans, and of course we had Afrikaners. But in those days we just called them colored. See, our name has changed so many times. Y'all don't know what our latest name is, do you?
No.
Oh, you know, you're talking about African American? American Africans. That's a new one. Yeah, American Africans. I haven't caught on yet because of the news media. But after the day, we're going. That's so you know what we're talking about when they say, yeah, American Africans. All right. That exposure had a lot to do with helping me understand and appreciate differences. Yes, my great-grandmother was a Seminole Indian in Florida. She weighed 500 pounds. My great-grandmama, 500 pounds. And she used to go to the meat market to weigh. Not on the regular scales, because they didn't go that high. She was a guitar player, musician, owned her own house. No, not house, rooming house. Yeah, she had her own little hotel. Yeah, that's how she, okay, experienced her life. And when we look at the independence, that's very important, economic independence. She found a way, okay, to use her talents so she didn't have a job. You know what a job is, don't you? J-O-B, Journey of the Broke. So she had this idea in her mind that she wanted to be independent economically. And even in that day, I'm talking about back in the 20s now, all right? Yeah, that's what her life was like. And fortunately, she only had one little girl, and that was my grandmother, and she followed suit, except the 500 pounds. She didn't make that, but she was independent as well. What I experienced with her at an early age was the fact that she had a great sense of who she was. So that identity is the key thing. So one of the lessons that we learn in the movement is that we have to help our young people appreciate a positive identity. No, you've heard that it's experiences that make the person. Nope. I've done the research on it. No, what makes the person is the person's interpretation of the experiences. That's how two people could come out of the same home and have eat the same collard greens and pig feet and pig ears, you know, or the arroz con pollo, or either frijoles negros, okay, all right, jerk chicken or whatever, okay, all that kind of stuff. And one goes in one direction and one goes in the other. It's the interpretation of the experiences that makes the person. That's why it's so important, yes, for you to talk to those little children and find out what they are thinking about what they are experiencing. Grandmama, yeah, take the time and sit down and talk about feelings. How did you feel about this? How did you feel about the other? That's what's missing. So I had the benefit of grandmama. I used to hang around with her everywhere she went. So I know all about older women. Everything. Because I was a little boy and they didn't pay attention to me, but I was observing all things. And I learned a lot. Yes. Been very valuable, okay? Education. Now, leaving Tampa, Florida, going to college in Nashville, I got involved in the sit-in movement. And I'll move very quickly through this. John Lewis, Diane Nash, okay, those people you're talking about? All right, yeah. The sit-in movement. One of the things that happened in Nashville, in 3 months, we desegregated all of the downtown lunch counters. That's because we had Jim Lawson, who had studied in India, Gandhi, okay? And he came back and he trained us in nonviolence. James Lawson Jr., Methodist preacher. He went to Vanderbilt University, Divinity School. But he couldn't eat at the Vanderbilt cafeteria. Okay? Yeah. Okay. Restrooms? I don't know. All right. But you could go to the Divinity School. That was the first breakthrough. But they expelled him from school because he came and taught us nonviolence at First Baptist Church. He never got arrested down. You know, that's not how he got expelled. He was teaching us. And guess what happened? That's why I'm so proud. The dean of the Divinity School resigned when they expelled him. Wow. Oh, you know, the Divinity School dean was white, right? Yeah. And a couple of professors even resigned. All right? And what am I talking about? I'm talking about lessons that we learned from the movement. Change came because we were able to persuade the majority of the people that we were right in our cause. No change can take place unless you're able to win the support, if not the definite sympathy or action of the majority. Yes. And we were considered a minority, but we had to persuade the majority Who do you think voted for the Supreme Court decision of 54? Have no minorities on there. Oh, the Civil Rights Bill of 1964? Who was the majority? Voters' Right Bill of 65? Who was the majority? That's what I'm talking about. On the Freedom Rides, about 40% of the people were white. Came from 11 different countries. Now watch this. Okay, the Montgomery movement was basically black people withdrawing from the buses and not riding. Because one of the things you have to do if you're going to bring about change is you got to get the people who are participating to withdraw their participation. Okay? Because it's a system. That's what we're talking about. Systems can't exist unless you have all parts working together. That's including your motor as well as your furnace. So what you have to do if you're going to bring about change, you have to dismantle the system or get non-cooperation from just one part. You don't need to do the whole thing. There's one segment of the system to withdraw. They call it boycott. All right? Montgomery bus boycott. That was a strategy that was used in Montgomery to desegregate the buses. People didn't have any marches. They didn't have any pickets. They didn't have any protests. They just stayed off the bus and walked. And what happened is that from a very, might say, inner strength, what happened is